Welcome to That Great Business Show. I am Conall Ó Móráin. Fáilteasteach. This is the show where we keep it real, tell you the truth about how tough business can be. We bring you case studies in the raw, except today I won't be nude. Listen to our guests' true grit stories or go ahead and learn the hard way. On this episode, what happens when demand finally arrives and your system, suppliers and possibly sanity are nowhere near ready. Homespun.ie makes good-for-you food that actually tastes yum. I eat it. It's nice. Now, from the outside, it looks dreamy. Irish-made product, growing retail footprint, strong online sales, Tesco listing secured, but nah. That's now not how real business works. Like 5 years to land the right manufacturer, finally gets there, then COVID hits and they walk away. First Tesco order after just 9 months of prep, 600 cases rejected over a single rogue digit on a barcode. All the joys of business. But we'll get onto all of that because this is Real Business, brought to you, as always, by De Facto Shaving Oil, the world's best natural shaving oil. Shaving foam cans are sent to landfill, and that is wrong, but it's the law. De Facto Shave is 100% recyclable. DeFactoShave.com. Erica Sheehan, welcome back to That Great Business Show.
Thank you, Conall.
You have just reminded me that it is 3 full years since you were on the show.
Almost to the day.
But you almost forgot because you thought it was only 2. And that's what happens when you're in business because your head just goes soft.
It has been a wild ride since I saw you last. Never a dull moment.
You were a couple of years into the business when you first spoke with me. So you're, what, about 5 years into it now?
I'm actually 10 years in it.
Oh my
Would
good
you
God.
believe? But I actually think it's kind of like, what is it, dog years maybe? Because I had 2 kids in the middle of the whole thing. So it's not an average 10 years. Let's be honest.
And I've just tipped some of the big problem areas because what you are here to talk about is, we'll talk about your product in a second because you've got some big news there. But let's talk about how easy it wasn't to get to where you are. Tell me the story, for example, of finding a manufacturer for your bickies.
Yes, so from the get-go,
The new bickies.
Yes, the oak bars. The oak bars.
Those are the new bars, and we'll talk about where you can find them. But to get those maids.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a wild ride. Long story short, when I launched the granolas, everyone said to me, this is a lovely idea, but I want something that I can have on the go. I want a snack that I can, throw in my golf bag or bring in the car or whatever. So I set about developing, I suppose, a companion product, if you like. That's what these were always designed to be. And we have them here in front of us. But yes, blood, sweat and tears getting here. And ironically, they're a very straightforward product. It's essentially a healthy flapjack. I mean, how complicated can it be? Turns out it can be pretty complicated. So look, I mean, the main hurdle as a small business is that you are, trying to find a manufacturer, because at the end of the day, I do not want to set up a bakery. I don't want to set up a production facility. I started my business in the farmer's market. I know what's involved in production, even at a very small scale in a farmer's market. So definitely didn't want to get knee deep into that world or deeper into it. So, look, you can have the greatest ideas, but really where you're limited to what can be made and who's willing to make it for you.
And it'll be short run-ish in the beginnings anyway.
Exactly. So, I scoured Ireland looking for bakeries and manufacturers.
Now, you say you scoured. Who or where do you go to scour?
So, yeah, some of it is desktop scouring, actually, to be fair. So one of my tactics, and this would be a tip for anyone listening who actually does want to get a food product made somewhere, is I figured, how do I... At the start, you're like, none of these manufacturers mean anything to me. How do I filter who's good, who's, some of these guys could be cowboys. How do I know? So I worked backwards, Conall. What I did was I said, okay, if you walk the supermarket aisles, who is winning awards for products, their products? And then who's making those products?
Tip number 1 from me is enter awards. Enter awards. Because... do you see how it works? It's not just about the awards. It's what people like you going around saying, they're good.
Absolutely. I think they call it in marketing, is it a trust queue or something like that? So anyway, I found manufacturers, but some of them their production runs were, the minimum order quantities were vast and so forth. And some people literally shut the door in my face. So that was the end of that.
What was the conversation now? Hello, my name is Erica Sheehan. I'd like you to...
Well, to be fair, when you have existing products that are in retail, you have some for them. And I mean, we supply Super Value, we supply Holland and Barrett, we supply Avoca, we supply, a section of the Dunn stores. So you have some for them, and you do have some credibility. So I will say it was easier than when I was looking for a manufacturer at the very get-go for the granolas. But it wasn't straightforward finding a manufacturer, and I thought I was almost there. It was during COVID, and I was well into a process, if you like, with a bakery, and we had samples created, and it was really positive, and I was having great dynamic with them. Only for I think he was called a lean accountant to enter their business, look at all their numbers. He was combing through their books, and basically said to them that overnight that they had to shed half their customers, that they weren't making any money, and that they had to put an immediate stop on all new business and new customers. So they called me to say, look, bad news, but no can do. So I really thought that was the one. So then I had to go back to
with them. That process.
I think, it could have been 9 months at that point, maybe a year even down the drain.
What do you do during those? You say, hello, Erica here. I want to make cookies. Good. Yeah, fine. And then do you go off and you give them recipes?
Yeah, I would have had kind of, what they'd call kitchen samples, which are like, versions, early iterations that you would have made in your own kitchen, different flavors. Obviously, we've got the dark chocolate, we've got the sea salt ones. So you come along. Actually, what I've learned is that the product you ultimately end up making and that's on shelf is a little bit different to that, but it's based on that. So yeah, there's product trials, and obviously there's packaging, and there's talks about packaging, and you could have an idea for packaging, but they'd say, well, our lines are set up differently. So there's a lot of back and forth, and obviously they have other customers and they've got their own business. So it's not like anyone's wasting your time, but just things take time. So I was at least a year in there. And that was not great.
Until the lean man came in.
I don't want to hear about lean accountants again.
I'd say you'd call him something else.
So, in fairness, when
you found out about that, tell me the truth now. Did you use lots of bold words?
Oh yes, and I was punching the walls, and it was not good. It was not good. My poor husband probably had to listen to me sounding off, but to be fair, I'm pretty resilient. I always think next day is new day, new start, and back at it. So, as a matter of fact, like I say, I have gotten great inspiration from being in the trade, being in the marketplace. So I actually headed out to Avoca, and I think I might have been having a meeting with Avoca or something like that. I was in Avoca, and I was waiting for the meeting, and I was browsing around as you do. And long story short, I saw beautiful products in the bakery biscuit space.
Avoca has many.
Yes, this was a branded product. And I thought, that looks fantastic. So I bought the biscuits. I brought them home, and we all tasted them. We thought, God, that's a great biscuit. Whoever has made that biscuit knows about food. So I contacted this bakery. They're an Irish bakery, and we had a great preliminary discussion. And they told me that they manufacture products for Fortnum & Mason. They do their Christmas cakes. And so they were saying all the right things. And I was thinking, yes, we're getting warmer. We're back on track here. So went to meet them. And anyway, long story short, they are my manufacturer for my oat bars now. So all has come good.
Very coy about saying who they are. Why?
Copycats, it's a huge phenomenon in this game. And anybody who needs a supplier of oat bars, they can do their own shoe leather like I did.
And that is the end of that conversation.
That's the end of that conversation as far as I'm concerned.
So you have found your manufacturer. Then what happens? Trying to get on to, say you were, did I read it correctly? Was it 9 months or more trying to get listed in Tesco? So
I will say, just as a prelude to that we have been doing business with Super Value for a long time, and they were awesome. They came on board immediately on the Food Academy. Yeah.
That's worked out perfectly for you, hasn't it?
I could not recommend it more. It's fantastic. And so that was great because, they obviously the way the multiples, handle most big food brands. I mean, it's a pretty, it can be a pretty bruising experience for big brands. I know because many years ago I worked for Coca-Cola, so I know how the brands are treated. But if you're part of the Food Academy, you are really treated with kid gloves, and it is a very nice, easy, gentle
for a while
entry for a while.
Because then They say, come on now, you've got to grow up.
Yeah.
It's a bit like
Well,
school
I will say that they have been great. We supply our oat bars to Super Value via a distributor. That's my other kind of big tip for any.
So that's Musgrave now, not Super Value, is it? Or?
So we work with Whole Foods Wholesale, stroke Simply Wild, and they look after these products into the trade for us, because these are oat bars are very different to the granolas. They're different categories. It's faster moving. The dynamics are different. So Super Value said, look, you're better off tapping into the team that they provide. They've got a whole team of sales reps going around the country. So that's a big advantage to a small business like ours. So
it's another cost though.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's probably a more sustainable arrangement, and they're great to work with. And I have to say that they really, really know this end of the snacking market. So they handle great UK brands like Deliciously Ella, Booja Booja, Oatly, a lot of the, I guess, trendy, healthy brands. And there's a guy called David Moran there, and he really understands the snack market. And for me, I guess being a solo entrepreneur, I really like working with people who can, help me navigate this and raise my game. And to be honest, be there for you in a bit of a crisis, of which there have been plenty.
Let's get into some of those.
Yeah.
Tell me some of the happy stories.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many happy stories. So we've been through the one about like the manufacturer, and that has come good. But so let me see.
I have a few written down here because I found them fascinating. One of them involves driving around Monaghan, but does that have anything to do with those bars?
Yes, it does. So I think it was last year, probably around this time last year. Have you heard of Sophie Morris?
No.
Sophie Morris is an Irish
the
content
influencer.
creator. Influencer, absolutely.
I have heard
Sophie
of her.
goes into supermarkets.
Sorry, Sophie.
Sophie is a really big deal now. She's amazing. She actually used to be a food producer as well. She had a cookie dough brand back in the day. But so Sophie goes into supermarkets, and it's unbelievably illuminating what she does. She looks at the labels and she highlights what's in products, and she compares one to the other. And everyone's like, well, it's obvious that's a much better product. And sometimes they're even the cheaper product. So she's fantastic. So Sophie, I will say she's got about 1 million followers on Instagram, people hanging her every word. And she is brilliant. But I'm slightly biased because she has been super for small food producers in Ireland. She has given a lot of support to small food producers, which I think we all really appreciate as a tribe. Anyway, cutting a long story short, she highlighted the oat bars really briefly last year. And I think I was collecting the kids and my phone blew up. I was in the school car park and my phone blew up and all these orders were flying in. And yeah, she had given them a mention. It was a really nice mention for the bars, and saying
can you remember what she said? Something
I
nice.
think she approved of the ingredients. So her big thing, and to be fair, I share her ethos, is she looks at what's in these products. Forget the claims, forget the packaging, what's actually in it, and is it good for you? And so she approves of, she likes the ingredients and the oat bars, and she liked the fact that they were high in fibre, and it was wonderful. But what people do is they go straight online to act on her recommendation. They don't even go to the retailers anymore. They go straight online. And I would say that our stock, we were sold out probably within a couple of hours. And then I put some of the buffer stock online. That was sold out really quickly. So I'd say by maybe 11 o'clock that night, like we had maybe close to a couple of thousand orders and like very little product to meet those orders.
And you have just taught me something a few minutes ago about those orders. They are legally binding.
So this is the thing. I mean, if somebody orders something online, they've used their credit card to pay for it and they expect it within a matter of days. But the bottom line is, even if they don't get it for another 10 days, it doesn't make a difference. They have paid for it. So it's not like running out in a store where it's like, too bad, sorry, we're sold out. So it was wild. Everyone, all systems go. We were trying to get more product made, but yes, then we ran out of coconut oil. So working the phones. I mean, look, the good thing about being 10 years into this business is you have a whole bunch of contacts, and one person will give you the name of someone else and so forth. So, but there seemed to be a bit of a drought of coconut oil, and it's in the bars, so we couldn't make it with the best will in the world without the product. And I know that this is going to make me sound very, very flaky, but here we go. I have a friend who is a manifestation guru, and she just, I've been listening to her podcast.
Now,
she has a podcast
talk
too.
To me about a manifestation guru, because not everybody would know what that means.
Yeah. So
I do,
her name,
for various reasons.
so this is going to sound, as you say, very flaky. But I was actually at that stage where I was willing to try anything. So I had listened to her, I'd been listening to her podcast all about applying manifestation principles. It's where when you really want something, it's like you're almost, so in my case, to give you an example, I was smelling the coconut oil. I was imagining pallets arriving at the bakery. I mean, I was all in. I was that desperate in my head.
You know that Johnny Sexton and all others who are terribly successful, it's called ideation in sport. It's the same idea.
It's absolutely, it's huge in sports psychology and all of that.
Who's this lady? You better give her a name.
Yvonne Trakian. I'm not even sure how to pronounce her surname, but she's amazing. She has her own podcast as well. Sorry to be mentioning. I think it'd be very complimentary. It's not competition.
I don't mind it.
So anyway,
I just like these people.
Lo and behold, we got sorted for the coconut oil. I was literally driving around Monaghan. Our warehouse is in Monaghan. I was driving around Monaghan and somebody gave me a lead for a coconut oil supplier. And I was chatting to them on the phone and they said, I said, look, where are you based? I'm literally willing to come and pick it up right now. And they were like, we're in Monaghan. I'm like, it's a sign. So yeah, that was wild. But I mean, look, Sophie is amazing and she's highlighted so many worthwhile Irish brands. And, look, we're a small company and someone like her spotlighting your products, it's fantastic. And influencers do have a really positive role to play in small business.
But they can also do you down as well if your stuff wasn't that good. Let's say that you had, and of course you don't. If you had horrible bars, she probably would be saying, I wouldn't bother with that one.
Yeah,
but she said nice things about you. That's cool.
She said nice things.
So back to, because I just touched on it and you moved over to SuperValu, we were talking about Tesco.
Yes.
Because Tesco, I have to say another shout out for Tesco. They've been so good to another brilliant Irish producer who's a huge friend of ours because she's been so good to the show, Mary Sadlier of Cool Swan.
Yes.
Who is now listed across all of Tesco's, certainly in Ireland, and I think she told me 800 or maybe more units in the UK. I mean, she's just cracked it in the UK.
I listened to her on this podcast at least once.
Did you listen to the most recent one?
And it's in the last 2 years now.
She doesn't hold back. There are many Fs. There are many other rude words that she says. And she's absolutely brilliant. Because
she was great.
She just says it as it is.
She was pretty candid, all right. I really enjoyed her podcast interview. So yes, Tesco came along last year. And I actually think there could have been a connection with Sophie as well, because it was around about the time, the oat bars were trending. And we got a call from a great guy in Tesco, Barra McFeely, who looks after Irish producers and I think is possibly, I don't know if I'm meant to say this, but I'm going to call him the friendly face of Tesco in Ireland. He's a really nice person. He used to be...
I think to be called anyway.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I think he used to be a cheese buyer and now he is the kind of person that brings you into Tesco and says, we're not all that bad. Come sit down, have a chat. So met him and it was interesting. He asked me to come out to a big Tesco in North Dublin and he said, straight down to business, we walked the store and he told me to bring the products. We walked the store and he asked me where I thought they should be merchandised. Should they be here? Should they be there? Should they be in the snacking? Should they be in the free-from category? Should they be with regular confectionery? And it was very tactical and very kind of practical. And
Well, he's probably trying to get his sales as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was really illuminating and it was great.
What's the answer? Where do you put your oat bars, for example?
So it's a great question. I mean, they're dairy free, but they're not gluten free. So you could be in the free from section. I mean, typically,
if you go into the free from and I look at that and I say, I don't know, is it 10 or 20 or 40% maybe gluten-ish intolerant? But the other 80 or 60% aren't. So you don't go near that. So you're underselling, are you not, by going into that category?
Yeah. And, like at the end of the day, you can have your own point of view on it. But I think the retailer will ultimately decide. And, you don't want to rock the boat too much.
Well, you don't want to end up near the crisps.
No.
So where you are you a snack?
So we're at free from. We're in the free from aisle in Tesco and in SuperValu because our granolas are gluten free. You'll find our chicory root syrup in the free from aisle as well.
Where is this? This is the chicory root syrup, which is, you introduced that to me 3 years ago.
Yes.
That is a staple in the Ó Móráin household. That is an exceptional product. Who else can make that? Who else makes that in Ireland?
Nobody.
Nobody. She's good.
Yeah. So that was an example of how
for honey.
Business kind of ideas can kind of land in your lap. I never anticipated getting into the sweetener category or the alternative sweetener category or what have you. And I was looking for a way of adding low sugar, healthy sweetness to these oat bars, stumbled on chicory root syrup and just fell in love with it. And so I introduced it. And actually, I have something else cooking at the moment.
Cooking?
Something cooking. There you go. There you go. I'm good, right? So something else cooking that I have literally stumbled on in the last 6 months that I've now fallen in love with. Again, a category that I never anticipated getting into. So the little family is growing. Yeah.
But it also takes your time.
Yes.
I mean, if you're just chucking out your bars, that's one thing. But as you say, it's a different category. So you're thinking differently and you're selling differently. And how many of you are there?
One. And I mean, I am very envious of people who have got 2 kids. I won't include my husband. I won't say a third. I've got my husband as well. He's wonderful. He's great. And he's kind of like he's the sanity. He never thinks things are as good as you hype them up to be, but he also never thinks things are as bad as, after a bad day. So he's great. I will say that, like, obviously being a solo founder, that's where all your relationships matter, your relationships with your retailers, your buyers, your distributors. I'm really fortunate to work with the distributors I work with. And, I think that's really, really important.
But you say that in a positive way, because of course it is positive, but it didn't just happen. You have put in the hard yards to find these people. I'm sure, I was reading, and I will be in contact again with Owen DeBarra, who's in the drinks industry, and the numbers of people in the drinks industry who shaft him and others. There's, business is tough and business can be a little bit ruthless. Have you had any big problems of that nature?
I mean, I will say when we sent our first delivery, I think you were just about to touch on it there. Like when we sent our first delivery of oat bars into Tesco, there was an issue with the barcode in one of the flavours.
Oh, we'll get onto that in a second.
Okay.
I'm not going to suggest for a second that there was anything dodgy about Tesco.
No, nothing dodgy. No, I just mean like...
He was shipping a beer or whatever and just not getting people to, as he said himself, ripping up the invoice because if it's under about 6,000 quid's value, it's not worth your while chasing it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
That's learning.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I think that it's been very positive in terms of the retailers, some more business-like than others. But I mean, that's been really, really positive. I mean, we've had our fair share of crises, but I think generally, I think one of the nice things about being in the food business in Ireland is that there's a really nice ecosystem of support between the retailers and I think within the food companies, actually, there's a great ecosystem of support with your peers, not necessarily always with the retailers, but it is definitely easier to get your products on shelf in Ireland for sure.
The barcode.
Okay, so now let's. Okay, so this was.
We'll get onto the good stuff eventually.
We'll get to the good stuff eventually. So yeah, so like this is just an example of how small things can slip you up in a big way. So we had our first delivery into Tesco of the oat bars about a month ago. And we had been preparing for this since that day that I met Barra 9 months ago. And it's sort of, then we were introduced to the buyer in our category, and then you're hammering out commercials and so forth. So it's a process. But I was really excited when our first delivery went into Tesco and thought, you're almost kind of mopping your brow thinking, okay, great, we've made it this far, okay. Only to get a call from my distributor to say that there was a little problem, that Tesco had essentially rejected 1/3 of the delivery because there was an extra 0 on the barcode of one of the flavours. So all the stock was sent back from Tesco HQ, I think it's in Donaghbate, and sent back to my distributor's warehouse, where an amazing team had to overnight relabel the products.
With sticky or?
Yeah.
They weren't all doing little things.
No, there was no, they weren't handing around a jar of Tipex or anything like that. I had to relabel all of them, and we just made the window the next day. So.
How many hours did you spend doing that?
It was being done overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's the truth. This is the harsh truth.
Yeah. And they were amazing to help, and they really, they were Whole Foods Wholesale, they were fantastic.
So you get in, and that's a mistake you won't make again. Now, we're not doing blamies here, but how does something like that happen if one package has the correct barcode and another doesn't?
I don't know how the rogue 0 got there, but it's gone now, that's for sure.
Okay. I think you're avoiding my answering that question. And when you heard about that, does your heart sink? And do you say to yourself, oh, geez, I'm giving this up?
I mean, in general, like there are moments like that, but I honestly don't think I'd be doing it this long if stuff like that, affected me, because and as I say, I'm out of 10 years. But I will say that I love the food business. Like before I came up here to the podcast studios, I wandered into Holland and Barrett. I ended up talking to the manager, a guy called Chris. Shout out to Chris. He now knows about the Great Big Business podcast. He's going to tune in. And I ended up having a bit of banter with Chris about the category that I'm now contemplating introducing a new product into.
This is the top secret one.
The top secret one.
You can tell Chris, but you can't tell us.
Well, it was just Chris listening on that occasion. So he's just happy to sort of look at the category. We walk over to the shelf. We talk about the trends. We talk about price point. We talk about innovation. And so you do get a fill up from, your people in your tribe, in your world.
I love the use of the word tribe, I have to say, because it is a tribe.
Yeah, I think that that it is a tribe, the Irish food tribe. Yeah, there's a lot of mutual support.
Good nowadays. I mean, you're way too young to not remember when I was. I was going to ask you. Do you remember going into a pub and getting a sandwich in a plastic bag and they'd put it into the toaster?
I feel like I remember that in Grogan's 20 years ago when I was in college.
And we've come a long way, I think, since then. Could you imagine giving anybody that, whatever was in that plastic, sure, it's no wonder we're all half, that some of us have no hair, for example. Anyway, back to the business. You keep saying you're 10 years in. Is that because you're buried in it, because you can't get out? Or we try to encourage everybody to go into business. And there are 250,000 SMEs. And I give talks and I refer to them as those in SMEs as who pioneer them or who champion them as misfits. Because you have to be a misfit. Could you ever contemplate going back into corporate world or anything like that?
I mean, on bad days, the corporate dollar is pretty, attractive, I will say. But look, I mean, I think the one thing I enjoy about it is having agency over my day to day. I love that. And I like, you're a small business and obviously, you've got smaller budgets and so forth, but we're pretty agile. And, I mentioned the fact that I worked for Coca-Cola. I mean, no company of that size is going to introduce a product within 6 months, a new product in 6 months. So, there is an agility in being small, which I really enjoy. What was the question again?
Just about whether sometimes you have bad days, obviously, and then because you're so deep into it, you say, geez, I can't get out of here.
No. I mean, I do think that if you set up a business in an area that you really are endlessly interested in,
that's
it
lovely,
doesn't
isn't it?
feel like work.
Yeah.
And like one of my kids said to me recently, like, what was the question about exams? Like, what's the hardest subject in secondary school? They're in primary school now. And I said that the hardest subject is the one you don't like and the easiest subject is the one that you love. There's no definitive answer to the question. But I honestly think, there's going to be bad days.
You're a philosopher or something, right?
Yeah. I come across as really together right now, don't I?
Chasing coconut oil in Monaghan actually sets you apart in a different kind of way and manifesting in another way, yeah?
Yeah, there you go.
So what's the big dream? You are obviously now thinking of the next product. So far you have the products, which are you've got the bars, obviously, the new ones. You've got your Homespun, your chicory. Yeah. You've got the granola.
Yeah. So do you know Conall Ó Móráin?
I do. I
am a kind of an admirer of what they've done with that. And it's not, there's obviously big Irish food companies that are kind of perhaps higher profile and so forth. I like the way they're playing in different categories.
Have you met with them? Have you chatted to them?
No, but I'm a shopper and I'm a fan, and I like that they have just come a long way over time, and there's something about what they've done that kind of is interesting to me. I suppose I started the business with a very narrow product range, so in a sense, I'm retrospectively filling in the gaps. But no, I love it. I absolutely love it. I am working with a man. I would describe him as a gentleman with grey hair who's, but he's my advisor, a mentor. He's my advisor stroke mentor. He was very, very senior in the European baking industry, and seen it all and done it all, and actually hit the companies that he consults with. They're a multiple of my size. I think I'm his hobby, basically. But we do talk about, like, you know, occasionally we will talk about, like, well, what's this all going to look like in 15 years' time? And I think they're good conversations to have.
15 years' time? What about 5?
I am literally just putting that out there. I mean, he also did say to me at one point when I had a bad day and I was thinking kind of that maybe try and kind of exit a bit sooner, he said, well, you know, you don't forget, you'll still need something to do. And that's true. And I love it. And, you know,
what about getting off the island? Where are you in terms of exports or thinking about exporting or whatever? On my way up here, I heard Enterprise Ireland talking about a new program that they're running about exporting.
Yes. So, I mean, look, on the exporting thing. So when I started Homespun, I was really, really eager on all of that. And there was, like, the reality is that it takes time and you need budgets. And I will say, I mean, I think there was kind of an egotistical dimension to it, if I'm honest.
But there has to be.
Yeah.
Because you have to believe in it and think that you're the one.
You do. And you have to feel like you're making progress. So we did supply Ocado, the UK retailer, for a number of years until Brexit. And then it became, I mean, it was the administration, you know, before that was horrendous. But after that, it was like, no.
Well, the good news is it looks like they're going back into Europe finally.
Yeah.
You know, that's finally somebody said, this is not such a good idea.
We are on Amazon UK. So your chicory root syrup that you like is flying on Amazon UK. And that's a huge marketplace for kind of more specialist niche products. And
where does that sit when it's being shipped? Is that in Ireland or is it in the UK?
Okay, well, I'll tell you about Amazon. So, you know, people buy stuff on Amazon all the time, and it's pretty easy to buy stuff on Amazon, right?
Very, yeah.
Selling stuff on Amazon is the exact opposite.
Oh, okay.
I thought, how difficult can it be?
But is this not, and you're not allowed to say you have an answer on this, is that Amazon used to be known for maybe borrowing the idea and doing it themselves?
Quite possibly. I think
that couldn't possibly comment on that.
Well, I don't know, actually, but I feel like I might have heard that once or twice. So with the chicory syrup, I looked into Amazon thinking, yeah, I buy stuff on Amazon. That's easy. Surely selling is easy. I lifted the bonnet, looked at it, ran for the hills. It could not be more complicated. You'd need to give up your day job. You would need to make Amazon your sole focus. And obviously we have other retailers and channels, and we've got our own online store. So
that's why Jeff Bezos is the world's richest, or whatever he is, man. It's because he has done this and he has worked it right down to make sure that they own everything.
Literally, the last thing I would want to do is to look after our products on Amazon full time, because it's so complicated, you would lose your mind. So that is where Bain Foods come in. Shout out to Bain. Bain are a husband and wife team who used to be in the food business. They had a range of cooking oils, very successful, and they started selling them on Amazon. And they learned a lot about Amazon, and they realized Amazon was the best channel for their cooking oils. So anyway, cutting a really long story short, they ended up stopping the cooking oils, and they ended up going into Amazon as full-time distributors of Irish food products into Amazon.
And how's Bain spelt?
Bayin. Yeah, okay. You should totally talk to them. They're really, really interesting.
I'm going to have them on if you introduce me.
Absolutely, I'd be delighted to introduce them. Their story is fantastic. So they essentially act as a distributor for Irish brands. So the beauty of this for me and for so many other brands is essentially they are the same as all of our other Irish distributors. I sell the product to them and they look after everything. And honestly, that is just, if I had that arrangement for every aspect of my life, I would be happy.
But isn't that it? They are solving a problem.
Yeah, and they really, really do. And then they're great people to work with. And to be fair, they're lovely people. They are from the food business originally, so they understand and they've got a real feel for things. So, and they have been great as well in terms of, like, when I developed the chicory root syrup, you know, when you're contemplating doing something new that's unproven, you're thinking, okay, I mean, what it comes down to really is, like, can I sell? Well, for me anyway, this is how I think. It's like, if the worst comes to the worst, can I get rid of the first production run? You know, I mean, this is kind of as basic as it gets. And I kind of thought, okay, well, when I heard that, when Bain told me, yeah, look, we think this is a winner, this is hitting all the right, you know, this is hitting all the right trends, it's ticking all the right boxes. When they told me that they would take the chicory root syrup, and this was during COVID actually, and I also had a call with SuperValue, and And they said, yeah, we're interested. And they were really supportive. I kind of thought, okay, I've got 2 big fish there. Let's press the button. Let's go. And that's really kind of what my decision. I guess I'm a calculated risk taker.
Yeah.
You do all your research, and then you've got to press the button. But you need some big fish on board for sure. And Amazon has probably been the biggest customer for our chicory root syrup, and that's because people are looking for specialist products on Amazon, and it's a huge marketplace for supplements, unusual products, niche products. It's vast. It's absolutely enormous. But you should totally talk to Bain.
And selling to the world. I mean,
yes.
There is no end to it. It's digital.
Yes.
It goes wherever.
I will say I feel like a lot of these conversations now are a little bit kind of on ice because of general kind of, disruption and so forth.
You're old enough, and I'm even older, to know it'll all pass.
This too shall pass. Exactly.
That man will go. We know who we're talking about.
We know.
Anyways, you're allowed, because I have 2 final questions. The first question to you is, what do you want to shout out for? What can we, as in That Great Business Show tribe, do to help you? Because we like helping people.
Oh, thank you so much.
Who do you need to buy your bars? Who do you need to...
Can I shout out about our online store?
You may, of course.
So, homespun.ie. And actually, I will tell you a funny brief story, which is that somebody told me before I started my online store, they said to me, who on earth, don't bother with a website, don't bother with an online store. Who would come to your online store and buy any products when they could just go to the nearest Super Value and buy them? So our online store is probably our biggest sales channel.
I know somebody personally who uses it all the time. So funny that. And these bottles appear.
So homespun.ie is, let's shout out about that. And what else?
Well, the next question you will be asked is, who would you hire in a heartbeat? So you can either shout out for your product, or then get on to the who would you hire in a heartbeat.
Okay.
You're looking at me. You did remember that question, did you?
Yeah, no. I said Choopy last time.
You did?
I would hire Katie in a heartbeat. So she's freelance who works for me, my content creator.
Casey's surname, so I did meet Casey. Katie
McNally. Katie McNally.
And she's from Craigavon. So content is everything for our brand is a food brand, but it's in that kind of umbrella of lifestyle brands. And yeah, I am just of an age where, pumping out content it's not first nature. So, a good content creator, definitely. I would also say that Ian, who is my mentor stroke advisor, is awesome. And if I could have Ian working with me every day of the week, that would be... Are you allowed to give Ian's surname, or is he secret?
Ian Dobbie. No, he's fantastic.
Dobbie?
Ian Dobbie, yeah. Yeah.
Nothing to Louise. Oh, no, that's a Louise. That's a different person.
There you go.
That's not bad. If I get Bain in, and Casey can promote, and Ian Dobbie might come in for a chat as well.
He is awesome. He works with some huge food businesses in Ireland and the UK, and I really think, I'm his hobby, but we get on, and he has raised my game, and he has added a lot. And I will say this much: sometimes you get tired of doing the thinking and tired of trying to work it all out, and it is great to come to somebody with a dilemma or problem, and they've seen it all before. So.
That's it. And that is, in the martial arts, the name is a sensei, and it is used in the male. It is he who has trodden the path before. And it's a great name. He is, when you go in to learn your karate, your boss, whether she's female or male, is your sensei.
Yes.
So there you go now.
Yes.
So, anyhow.
Super. You learn something new every day.
We're very philosophical today, aren't we? Listen, thank you so much for coming in to me.
Delighted.
And again, as I say, so come back again when you crack. Wait, you were kind of slightly evasive about the cracking the big one. Do you have ambitions maybe to crack, let's say, Europe or something like that? Beyond.
Like I say, we supplied Ocado for a long time, and that was amazing, and learned a lot. And I've supplied some of the fine food halls in London, the Harrods, the Selfridges, and so forth. So that's nice. My mum was delighted to tell her friends in golf about all of that. But do we make any money from it? No.
That's the truth.
Yeah, Board Bia have organised big kind of almost like speed dating events where they bring in buyers from
overseas. They've been doing it for years and years.
Yes, it's great. I mean, we've met buyers from brands and so forth, and Carrefour and all these. Look, at the end of the day, I remember. Did you meet Ray Coyle?
I knew Ray personally.
Ray, I'm sure you did.
Ray was one of the most entertaining people you could ever come across. He was brilliant.
Well, I tell you a funny story about Ray.
Please do. Sorry, for those who don't know, Ray Coyle was Mr. Tato. He was Tato, and it was far more beyond that. But as I say, I knew him very well. I did try to make a retrospective program about him, but they were a bit shy, which is unfortunate. I still think everybody knows Tato. And the reason that you know about Tato is because of one man, the late Ray Coyle.
100% total legend. So long story short, I did an Enterprise Ireland accelerator at one point. And my mentor on that, a lovely gentleman, knew Ray and said, look, there's only so much I can help you, but you need to meet my buddy Ray. So I was like, is that Ray Coyle from Tato? Wow, absolutely, love to meet him. So anyway, Ray said to me to come and meet me in Tato Park. So went to Tato Park to meet Ray. And
down
Ray...
the little boring.
Yes,
and
yes.
on the right-hand side, the bison.
Yes.
Nuts.
No, he sent me home with the bison meat actually as well. He sent me... It's wild. But anyway, so met Ray and... Ray asked me a few questions and, he's so sharp and so fast and he's an amazing man. But anyway, he said to me after a couple of minutes, okay, I've got the drift of this. He said, this is going to take a long time to work, Erica, and Tato Park needs a new marketing manager and I think you would be perfect. So, come over to me, work for me and we'll get this other thing going in the background. So... I was like, Ray, as much as I love what you've done here and you're amazing and I would love to work with you, I'm actually just going to, honestly, I'm at this, I'm going to make this work at it full time and I appreciate the offer, but I don't want any distractions. And he was such a lovely man and he also sent me home with a little Tato teddy, a little Mr. Tato teddy that my kids still have. But he was an incredible...
You demented.
He was incredible. Sorry, I meant to say... The little bit of advice that he did give me was, he said, when he had given up trying to hire me to work in Tato Park, he was trying to be constructive about my business. And he said, look, this is going to take a long time. But he said, focus on Ireland. He said, you really have no business going into other markets until you have sweated the business here locally. And, it was great advice because I will say that the people who buy our oat bars, when they discover the brand, then they're interested in the other products. And there's a word of mouth piece in Ireland that, really matters. I do know from having supplied Ocado in the UK that, it's harder. Even just trying to get UK press is harder. I'd
say impossible.
And you pay for absolutely everything. I think we did get a little snippet once in Women's Health or something like that. But by comparison to the press we've had here, so Ray was just like, you have no business looking at overseas markets until you are everywhere at home. And I think it was great advice.
That's good advice from Ray. Yeah. The late, great
he was fantastic.
Ray Coyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could tell you stories about it. But anyway,
he's a wonderful person.
Thank you so much for coming in. That is it for That Great Business Show. So my thanks to the production team here at the Dublin South FM studios who keep this, wait to see, the usual thing. I do back reference to everything we were just talking about. So they keep this whole supply chain running smoothly. Peter Rice, studio manager and chief fixer. On the bench for Peter this week are Lee Brennan, head of It'll Be Grand. Richard Ryan, barcode therapist, you needed one of those. And Neil Berg-Horner, miracle worker. Thanks to our long-standing sponsor, De Facto Shaving Oil, for backing independent business thinking, just like Erica. And they back us, you back them. So defactoshave.com is where you will find them, our gentlemen. And ladies' agreement is simple. We do all the work for you. You just hit subscribe. So for anybody who's thinking about anything to do with the food business, this is the one for them. Press the repost button on LinkedIn and it'll go to all your pals. And you look really, really smart. And they love you for that. So mar derma goni, gur míle mágad a séisteach agus slán tamil.